When it comes to being a resident, there's a plethora of resources for attaining clinical knowledge. But what about when it comes to life outside of the hospital? Well, that's where we come in. We're going to hear from alumni about their experiences during residency and hopefully make life a little bit easier for the rest of us. This is The Long White Coat. So today we're discussing the challenge of raising kids during residency. As we know, the schedule during residency can be pretty hectic, and having to take care of a kid on top of that can really strain some things. So we're going to be talking with a couple of residents today about the challenges that they've faced raising kids during residency and how they've overcome them. Today we're talking, first of all, with Revan Samakia. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me on the show. My name is Revan. I'm a second year resident in the internal medicine residency program at Loma Linda. I have a daughter now who is about 10 months old, soon 10 months old. You can say that she came pretty much right towards the end of my first year of residency as an intern.
Well, let's jump right into the questions then. First thing we need to know, just to get a little bit of background, can you take us through a little bit of the journey of what it's been like to raise a kid during residency for yourself?
You know, I want to be really frank about it. It's very difficult, especially if it is your first child. Obviously, the main thing is time management for somebody who doesn't have even enough time to sleep at some of the rotations. Now, as a new parent, as a new father, as a new mother, you're supposed to kind of manage, your time, spend some good time with the family, be there, be the support, and then in the meantime, do not procrastinate or do not lack or fall behind any of your responsibilities as a resident.
Definitely. So right now, in taking care of your child, what do you have in place as far as childcare?
There are multiple things that I've seen parents do, and I'd say like I was not one of the most prepared parents. So me and my wife, even though we both were working full time, childcare, putting her in daycare. This is California. It's pretty expensive as compared to several other states. We tried to we spoke or kind of like interviewed multiple people for hiring them as a nanny. Obviously the financial aspect is something, but then you're adding somebody to the family as a nanny. You have to find that trust and all that's difficult. So we finally came down to the point that if you can convince one of the grandparents to come stay with us maybe for a while, for a month or two, or a little bit here and there, then we can take it from there. And that's what it was. They came, they stayed with us for a couple months, and they've been very gracious. Now we leave our child with them, and then go pick her up. Sometimes they come stay with us. But from what I've seen, or the other residents who've had child, or they came to the residency with children, there are those who basically find daycare for their children, or find schooling for their children, and they're happy with that. There are those who obviously hire somebody at home, like a nanny or somebody who can help them, and there are those who try to manage like finding family members, like grandparents, or somebody who's close to them who comes and help, or be part of the family for a while, or they can leave the child with them, depending on the financial situation, because the first two are costly, obviously. The third one can be, depending on how the situation is, but again, this needs a lot of thinking in advance. I can tell you that, for example, as like at Loma Linda, there is what they call Loma Linda Academy, which has school all the way, I guess, to high school, but they also have like daycare and pre-K and all of that. But when we tried to join, they said the wait time is about 3 years. So you can see, like, even if you have the means and financial and time and everything, here it is. I guess we didn't prepare as much as we should. You should be thinking about having childcare and taking care of your baby years before even having a child.
So it's great to hear that you have family members that are swinging through and taking care of the baby. I'm sure that takes a huge weight off your shoulders. Until they were able to move down, though, kind of what route were you going down? Were you going down the nanny route?
Yeah, to be honest with you, for sure, nanny was one of the good options. It also comes down to a little bit of sacrifice between the couple, between the parents. A lot of time I've seen like moms kind of like take some good time or like maternity leave or something like that, and it can be the opposite. It can be the father kind of taking some maternity leave, if they call it, which is harder in general depending on what type of job you do. But in residency, it's not a built-in thing in a lot of residency programs, including ours. It's not built in. You kind of need to negotiate and see like how it goes. They're pretty flexible in what they provide. My wife was able to take some time off from her job, stay home, take care of her. And I took, a couple of weeks off, even though she came right in the middle of my CCU rotation. And yeah, that was one thing that worked for us.
And what does your wife do?
She's a teacher, so she's very good with children in general. She's worked from preschool all the way to the middle school that currently she's at, and that's been very very helpful. So
Awesome. Hey, it's good to have someone who's also good with kids. Something that you touched on earlier actually was the financial side of things. So we know getting another body in the house means that we're going to have to split costs a little bit more, especially on a residence budget. So how have you guys adjusted to the finances of having a child?
our plan was for her actually to stay sort of with the child for the whole first year. Unfortunately, obviously, as you mentioned, with the resident salary and the California cost of living, it's definitely not doable, not feasible. She had to go back to work, and she had to get this maternity leave, and then on top of that, if she wanted to extend that, there are options. There are options. Like I personally applied for something. Yeah, I don't remember but it was through a state program. It's a family supporting program for a state. It pays about, I think, 60 or 70% of your salary for the months or weeks that you're requesting to that you need for providing care for your child. You provide all your documents, your paychecks, pay stubs, and everything, and they look at that. And it was pretty simple. They didn't give me any pushback or any hard time or anything. And similar things for moms as well. If they get maternity leave through their jobs, they get paid through that. If not, there's still like state programs. She did as well. She applied, and she had to stay home for a longer period of time, and she got paid for that without much of a difficulty.
Yeah, I didn't know those kind of programs existed. So that could be a huge help to parents in your
Yeah.
situation. That's great.
Yes.
And then last thing that you kind of touched on before, knowing that the resident schedule is so hectic and so busy, how have you made the most out of the free time that you've had to still take care of your family, connect with the child, things like that?
So I can say that's probably the biggest challenge that, as a resident. The thing is, like, residency already has a very, set time schedule, a very organized time frame. What it doesn't have built in is like, family time with your children, with, new members. And it doesn't have these things. And it's understandable because it's a very crammed, type of training. It's very intense. But they give you vacation time. Obviously, they even give you some flexibility on how like this your schedule can be built. For you not to get multiple hard rotations like call rotations or night rotations back to back, which will keep you away from your family. I was in contact with the scheduling office. They were very understanding. They accepted the fact that I need some of these extra times, changed my schedule. Whenever my child is, for example, sick or needs for one of her vaccinations, I need to take her to the office. They're always understanding, and people in the residency program also, like, they understand. Like if you're calling this day off, There's always another nice resident that will cover your shift, and they'll, there's always backup. So I'd say don't shy away from like using your resources as much as you can. And nobody is going to be like, oh, this is a procrastinator or just want to be like absent from resident program. As long as you can show that you're progressing through your training. And then beside all of this, try, sort of needless to say, that all your weekends you should spend time with your family. Get in contact with all the residents who have kids. That's they give you advice. Your child needs some activity and interaction with with all children. So that was also pretty helpful. And even I reached out to some of the counselors that we have here, and I said, this has been a challenging time for me and my wife. And they were very supportive too. They provided even some like get together groups, like moms groups of Redlands or dads groups of whatever. You can, there's always things that, and then they get together, you can go there. It's very friendly, very nice. So there are multiple, there are definitely a good number of resources. You just have to find your flow and build it in the busy schedule of residency training that you have.
No, I'm glad that there are so many different ways of support that you found so far. I didn't know that, again, groups of moms, groups of dads got together in the area, so you could have that
Yeah.
kind of support. But now taking a step back from everything, from your experience so far, is there anything that you would have done differently?
In regards to like raising your child, there are so many things that you'll say, oh, I wish I would have done this differently. The example was the daycare that I mentioned. I would have loved her to be part of the Loma Linda Academy, but the wait time is like years. Now I'm just thinking, maybe, I wish I would have thought through this a lot more. The biggest thing that sometimes comes to my mind is that the timing of having a child during residency, that might be the thing that will change the course of your life and your training and everything. If I would have done things differently, it probably was not having a child, during intern year or even the second year of residency. First intern year, obviously we're all new. We don't know what we're doing. We're just, getting our feet wet. Second year, you're a new senior resident. You need to have to take care of the whole list. I've seen a lot of our third year residents. Some of them have multiple children, and they're doing really well. And they get well rested. They get enough time with their family. And it's understandable. You know the nuts and bolts by then. You have more time, if possible, to have, if you want to have a new member in your family, sort of, just wait a little bit longer up until when you're sort of like more established in the residency. That's something, if possible, it should be considered.
Yeah, well, thank you for that honesty. Um,
Yeah.
regardless, it seems like you're making it, so we're very happy for you. And then I guess before we end here, do you have any other words of advice for our listeners today?
We're having really like heart to heart conversation here. Having a child during a residency, it's going to be difficult no matter what. No matter what year of resident you are. That's something that new parents should consider, especially during a time of training. Can this wait maybe a year or two or more, after we're done with training? Or, we've made our mind and, we want to have the child, and we'll decide, well, we'll go through all the difficulties together. So that's number one decision that they need to think through. And then as a resident, again, don't shy away from asking for help and support from your program, from your peers, from the community, obviously family and friends and all that, obviously always all around to help. Everybody's understanding. If a lot of people have been in the same place and in your shoes, so it's nothing that you need to shy away from it, or you don't want to add up all these extra stress to yourself without going for all these available resources to you. And I'm saying this because initially I didn't do a good job of like reaching out for help, but now as I'm getting into the flow of this, I see that wow, how much of a support is available there. And yeah, I could have used, but I didn't. But that's what I think everybody should do.
Thank you. That is a great way of summing up things. And I can say for those of our listeners that were asking for this topic, this has been very helpful to hear that very honest evaluation of yourself and your situation. And I hope that this will help a lot of our other physicians that are going into the same journey that you're in right now. So we want to thank you, first of all, for joining us here on the podcast, and also wish you the best in completing your residency and also raising your kids. We know that it's been hard so far, but you seem to be pretty well put together as far as things go from my standpoint.
Thank you for the opportunity. And again, I'm as long as I am here, part of this residency. If anybody like needed really more, help or sort of thought or perspective or anything that I could be of help, or just don't hesitate. You have my contact information. I would love to help these people. I know how difficult the journey can be. If I can be that person who makes it a little bit less stressful, sure, I'll definitely be available.
Well, thank you so much. We'll keep in touch.
Thank you.
For this discussion on parenting, we also interviewed Dr. Eunice Park. There was so much good information from both Dr. Samakia and Dr. Park that we divided it into 2 parts. So please tune into our next episode where we get to hear Dr. Park talk about mom's side of things. You won't want to miss it. That concludes today's episode of The Long White Coat. This is a production of the Alumni Association of Loma Linda School of Medicine. Our guest today was Revan Samakia. If you found today's discussion helpful, please share with a friend and subscribe. I'm your host, Richard Ulangca, class of 2021. Thanks for listening, and best wishes.